FWD Champions Day, the next big event in Hong Kong racing, is just 2 weeks away. Preparations are well underway. The first international horses arrived on Thursday after the selected runners were announced on Wednesday. Here's what's coming up on this edition of HK Direct. Dave, Morgan and I are going to run through the international competitors for the 3 Group 1s on Champions Day. Plus, we'll pay tribute to legendary New Zealand trainer Trevor McKee. Dave Morgan, welcome back to HK Direct. Terrific meeting coming up in a couple of weekends' time, Champions Day. The last international meeting in December, Hong Kong won 4-0. It could be a different story in a couple of weeks' time, though.
Could indeed. I mean, Beauty Generation's going to get his own way in the Champions Mile, it looks like, in terms of the international competition. But in the sprint, we've got some real good sprinters from down under coming in, including one that looks the real deal in Santa Ana Lane. And the QE2, we've got some real top-class horses in there, especially the Japanese mares. They're very interesting. Let's
get into it then, and we'll start off with the Chairman's Sprint Prize. And as you mentioned, the 2 Australian sprinters. Great to have the Australians here this meeting as well, too. Santa Ana Lane and Vidora. Up against the Hong Kong sprinters, well, we've also got Nak Venus from Japan and Enzo's Lad from New Zealand. Let's have a look at some lead-up form then, and we'll go back to the Spring Carnival in Australia. You mentioned Santa Ana Lane before. He's a 5-time Group 1 winner. His most recent win was in the TJ Smith Stakes. In the spring, though, he won the VRC Sprint Classic, one of the big Australian sprint races.
Yeah, I love this win. It's classic sprinting down a straight track. He sits in behind, and he's just waiting for that gap. And when the gap comes, as we'll see in a second, he quickens through and puts the race to bed very, very quickly. In the TJ Smith last time, I mean, if you watch this race in isolation, you're thinking, well, that's straight track sprinting, but Sha Tin's a whole different kettle of fish coming around that turn. But you go to the TJ Smith last time, he comes off that turn, he's wide in the straight, and he just powers home. And this horse has got a really powerful finishing kick, and he's very exciting.
He is 5-time Group 1 winner. Continues to be underrated, but I think he'll be the favourite for the Chairman's Sprint Prize, a race that we know Australian horses have won before, with Chautauqua, memorably, only 3 years ago.
Sure, and he could be very similar to Chautauqua. Depending on what the draw does, he could be coming on that outside like Chautauqua did and just powering down the outside. The Hong Kong sprinters, they're good horses, but the way they keep beating each other with Mr. Stunning, with Beat the Clock, and last time where we had Rattan step up, there isn't a standout, there isn't a real superstar. And so it's there for the taking, I would think.
There's no Sacred Kingdom or a horse of that calibre this year from Hong Kong, is there?
Yeah, not this year.
Let's go to some international form then. Vidora is the other Australian sprinter in the race. This was in Dubai. She finished 4th in the El Quoz sprint. From a Hong Kong point of view, you also had Wishful Thinker in this race.
Yeah, Wishful Thinker, things didn't go his way, and he didn't really run up to what we expected he might. Vidora, she's run a really good race here. After she won the Moya Stakes, her form seemed to dip. This run where she's just run on honestly behind a very good horse in Blue Point and the American sprinters there. She runs a real good, honest game race. She keeps going, and that suggests that she's coming up towards a peak again. So I would expect that she's going to run a race and she'll be thereabouts, providing she's taking that travel to Dubai and then the travel to Hong Kong. If she's taken that okay, I think she'll be a force. She'll be thereabouts.
Yeah, I thought her run in the Moya was good to win, but it wasn't the strongest Group 1 win. Form had dipped, but then this was a return to form, as you say, in the El Quoz. For mine, I don't think Wishful Thinker is one of the better Hong Kong sprinters. He's been going very well in a lower level.
Exactly.
But I think it's going to take another step up for him to figure in a race like this.
Yeah, I would agree with that. He needs to take another step if he's to come up to the level of a Mr. Stunning or a Beat the Clock. And with Vidora, she's yet to prove that she's as good a sprinter as Santa Ana Lane. She probably isn't. And so, yeah, I think we're looking at her as being a thereabouts in the place money.
The Hong Kong hero of racing here is Beauty Generation. He'll line up in the Champions Mile for the 2nd time. He won it last year. He's trying to join the likes of Extension and Bullish Luck as a back-to-back winner of the race. It's an all Hong Kong field for the Champions Mile as well, too. We saw what he did last week in the Chairman's Trophy, Beauty Generation. We've seen it all season long. He's won his last 8 in a row. This is going to be pretty straightforward for him, isn't it?
It should be. I mean, he's a brilliant racehorse. He's come up against these horses before and he's put them well in their place. It's a little bit disappointing we don't have an overseas horse coming in. If I'm an overseas trainer, an owner, and I've got a good Group 1 horse, I can understand why they've probably ducked him, because he is just that much better than the rest here, and he is a real star of the sport. But really, he should turn up here. He should put this to bed. He should get that prize money record that people have talked about. and he should get his 8th straight win. Fingers crossed if all goes to plan. Of course, horses aren't machines. We hear that line. You know, horses can have an off day. But you'd think even if Beauty Generation wasn't at his absolute peak, at level weights, he should still beat these horses. It
would have to be a significant off day or something goes physically wrong with him that would cause defeat, in my opinion.
Yes, I would agree with that.
OK, so looking forward to seeing the champ in action on the 28th of April in the Champions Mile. Back-to-back wins in the race coming up for him.
I mean, this is the thing. We just enjoy him, right? I mean, he's going to run, and it's great that we're seeing him run. So we're just going to enjoy him run and hope that everything goes well, he wins this race, and then perhaps he'll go on to Japan for the Yasuda Keenan.
To me, it's almost got a feel of the Able Friends, and that Able Friend mightn't have beat much when he won that Champions Mile, but it was still super to see a champion horse like him win again at Group 1 level. And then, yes, that he goes on to perform overseas. It didn't work out for Able Friend, but let's hope it does for Beauty Generation, if that's the path they go down.
We hope so.
Definitely. All right, well, the big one of the day really is the QE2 Cup. It's going to be an absolutely super race with a field of 14 to line up in it. Exultant as well as Time Warp, Glorious Forever have all saluted on International Day in recent years. They'll take on Winbright from Japan, Lise Gracheur, Deirdre, the compatriots. Harlem comes over from Australia as well too. And then you've got the Derby winner in Furore. So this will be a terrific race, and Japan have performed really well through the years in it. They've won it 4 times. Let's have a look at some form from Japan featuring Winbright and Deirdre. This is Winbright coming wide, the grey horse, and also Deirdre further back in the field. This is in the Nakayama Kinnan. He's won this race the last 2 years, Winbright, but he's never quite been able to take that form to the top level.
Yeah, whenever he's raced in Group 1 level, he's been put well in his place. This was a good win. He's run on strongly, but if you look at his form the last 3 years, he comes out in the January, he runs a good race, he comes out in this race the last 2 years and he wins that, the Group 2, and then his form dips. He kind of drops off. It's as if he's an early part of the season, he's at that peak, and then it drops off. He's a 5-year-old now. Perhaps he's needed that time to mature, and maybe this will be his year. But that would be a worry for me looking at him. The Rulership won this race a few years back, and he came in as a Group 2 winner. He hadn't won a Group 1. So there's that precedent for a horse like him to come in and win it. But even then, I would say Rulership at that stage, even though he hadn't won a Group 1, was a better horse than than Winbright.
And you were there on Dubai World Cup night and saw Deirdre run. That was after this replay that we just showed. Is she going well enough? I feel a couple of runs this time in have been OK without getting too excited about them. Yeah,
you wouldn't be too excited. I think that was an OK run if you look at it as a prep into Dubai. And if you look at the Dubai run, actually, she doesn't run a bad race. Although she's a fair way off, she's 4th. There's daylight between her and the 2nd and the 3rd. I think if you look at that race, she gets stuck in a bit of a pocket. She's on the rail. And at the point when the 2nd and 3rd horses are quickening away, she's still going sideways. So you can forgive her a little bit. She kind of plugs on and she doesn't really make anything, but that distance remains the same. You'd think if she was quickening at the time they were quickening, maybe she'd have been right there with them. So I still think that was probably a good run. The question is, from all that travel, going to Dubai, coming here, will she be able to still perform at a peak?
Of course, Deirdre's returning to Hong Kong after finding one better than her in the Hong Kong Cup, as is Lise Gracheur, who found one better in the Hong Kong Vase. I liked her lead-up run. She's going to go close in this race for mine.
I agree. They both ran great races in December at Sha Tin. Lise Gracheur and Deirdre, I think they've met 5 times, and it's 3-2 in favour of Deirdre in terms of who's finished in front of who. So Lise Gracheur, it looks like, has a little bit to find on her. There's very little between them. But if you take that last run, she put in a really strong finish behind Exultant. She looked like she was the winner at the 200, but she'd come from so far back, she kind of just ran out of steam that last 50, and Exultant fought back. Because I think she got her nose in front at one point, and he fought back, and she just ran out of steam. She's then come out in the Kinko Show just last month, and she's run a really good race there, second behind a horse, Danon Premium, who, coming into this season, has the potential to be a real superstar in Japan. He's very lightly raced. He's won more races. I think he's been beaten once. And she's run second to him. And that was, for me, was a really good lead up to this race. And I'm very excited about seeing her.
Wouldn't be the first time she's won the QE2 either. She won the QE2 Cup in Japan at Kyoto back in November prior to coming over to Hong Kong as well.
That's right. That was a really good win. But again, that followed a defeat to Deirdre. So there's as I said, there's very little between the two. But I think Lise Gracieux coming in fresh, having not gone to Dubai, she's the one maybe that's the pick of the two at this point.
And would Exultant, given his wins in the Vase and also the Hong Kong Gold Cup, is he the hardest of the locals to beat? Or could we see Pakistan Star, last year's defending champion, after his good third last week, return to something like his best?
Yeah, we'd like to think the romantic story is that Pakistan Star comes back to that peak and he puts together one of those blistering runs, just that brilliance that we know he's got. Last time out, that was a really good run. I was pleased to see that. You could see he just tired a bit at the end and faded after showing up. But really, Exultant has looked pretty much bomb-proof since December. He does what he's supposed to do. He's learned to settle in his races. He's a very strong stayer. The thing with him is he's going to have to get the right draw, get the right position, because the 2,000 metres, he's probably not as good as he is at the 2,400 metres.
So we've had a quick look at the main attractions in the 3 Group 1 races. Overall, 2 weeks' time, as a racing fan, what are you most looking forward to about Champions Day?
I'm really looking forward to this QE2. I think it's a really good competitive race. I'm excited to see Lise Gracieux and what she might be able to do. I'm excited to see Exultant, to see if he can step up again and prove that he's the champion here. And I'm excited to see if Pakistan Star can put it together. I think they're all really good angles going into that race. And that's without the brothers Glorious Forever and Time Warp. What on earth are they going to do? Who's going to lead? That's always the question leading in. But I'm also excited to see this Santa Ana Lane come, this sprinter, and just to get that measure on where our sprinters are with overseas sprinters, because he does look an exciting horse.
Yeah, promises to be a fantastic day of racing. Dave, thanks very much for your insight.
Thank you very much.
Before then, though, we've got 11 races coming up at Sha Tin on Sunday afternoon. Trackside live coverage gets underway at 12 o'clock. The trophy race for the meeting is the 18 Districts Cup, which is the 4th event on the program. Race 11 is the highest class event for the afternoon, featuring the undefeated Champions Way. For the full build-up towards Champions Day with all of Dave's insight, go to the website hkjc.com, and you can also follow us through Twitter at hkjc_racing. That's all we've got time for on this edition of HK Direct. We're going to finish off the show by paying tribute to Trevor McKee, who passed away last week. He'll best be remembered for training the champion mare Sunline, who won big races in New Zealand, Australia and here in Hong Kong, winning the 2,000 Hong Kong mile in a thrilling battle between her and Hong Kong champion Fairy King Prawn.
Sunline in front, Fairy King Prawn, the horse of Hong Kong, coming after the mare of the world. 150 to go, Sunline's a length in front. Fairy King Prawn's trying to get him. Sunline, the Kiwi putting out stops. Fairy King Prawn lifts, they come to the line. Fairy King Prawn dives, but he missed. Sunline, the mare of the world, wins it from Fairy King Prawn.